All right. Do that again. Welcome. Dinner with the Docs. I'm excited about this program. I'm excited about it just to share information that I'm reading all the time. Every day, listening to, reading, trying to work through the information and figure out what is the right thing that fits with me and in my paradigm of health and what I think of health. So as we do these Dinner with the Docs programs, what I ask for you guys to show up with is not an open mind. An open mind can be filled with anything. I want you to show up with an active mind. An active mind, you're making your own decisions. Don't believe everything that I say. It's my opinion. Take it as a second opinion. If it doesn't fit with what you believe in, don't put it in there. You know, there's a lot of stuff that is marketed to us. And what do you think the goal of advertising is? To get you to buy something? Yeah, exactly. So, I'm not selling anything. I'm just trying to make you guys, I'm not trying to make you do anything. I'm trying to help you live longer, live stronger, and just a more enjoyable life. So here's what I'm starting with tonight. The name of my topic, or the talk tonight is It Is Simple As That. We can't do a series of talks on health without starting at what I think is the foundation and the beginning and what all health builds on. So, my question to you is, what do you think is the definition of health? Definition of health. How about any ideas? What would you guess? What would you throw out? If you think about health, how do you define health? What would you say?
How you feel?
How you feel. Okay, I hear that one. Yep. Anything else? Not sick. How you feel and not sick is the definition of health. Anything else?
Being able to live life.
Being able to live life to the fullest. Okay? Definition of health. Webster's dictionary says 100% of the body is functioning 100% of the time. 100% of the body functioning 100% of the time. We have 100 trillion cells in our body. When 100% of the body is functioning 100% of the time. Power on, like an electrical system. Dorland's Medical Dictionary. 32 editions. That means that they've been around for a long time. If they got 32 editions, they've rewritten some stuff. The first and last word in medicine for over 110 years is what it says up there in the deal. Dorland's Medical Dictionary says the state of optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmities. So not about not sick, not about feeling well. The state of optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmities. Two pictures up there. Hospital guy and somebody on a treadmill. Are the people on the treadmill well? Are they healthy? Not necessarily so. Just because this guy's in a disease state and it's obvious and he's not doing very well and he's in the hospital, most people visualize this as sick. That's what we look like when we're sick, right? In the hospital, or we have very ill health. They look at people that are maybe at the gym and exercise, and they look at them as those are well people. No, they're not. Not necessarily. Because that's not where health comes from just exercise. So when I talk about health, I always start at the beginning. And the beginning is embryology. Also, when I talk about health, and I talk about people curing things, maybe you've heard stories of chiropractors curing like someone's daughter's menstrual cramps, or curing reflux, or curing ear infections, or curing asthma, or MS, or diabetes, or all kinds of different things like that. Maybe you've heard stories of chiropractors who have cured people. I got news for you. Chiropractors don't cure people. I got more news for you. No doctors cure anyone. No doctors cure anyone. The living life of our body cures ourselves. Embryology. So, it all starts at the beginning. I hope you know about the egg and the sperm, because I'm not going to tell you how those two hook up. So, egg and sperm. The size of an egg, a female egg, is the size of like a fine tip pencil with just a dot on the piece of paper. That's how large it is, not very large. And the sperm is actually even smaller than that. They join and they join and make one cell. It's the only time in nature that two cells can come together and make one cell. Cells can divide, but this is the only time that two cells come together and make one cell. So that one cell then divides into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16, 16, 32, 64, and so on. Is that little embryo begins to develop, and then it implants into the uterus. So what happens is there's one day in this embryological process that's something different about this morula, they call it, this it looks like a blackberry of cells. Something different shows up, and there gets a little dent in it. And that little dent turns into something called the primitive streak. The primitive streak turns into the first organ of our body. Does anybody know what the first organ of our body is that develops? Do you think it's the heart?
Spine.
It's the brain.
Brain.
It's the brain and the spinal cord.
It's the spine.
The very first organ that develops in the developing embryo is the brain and the spinal cord. That fascinates me as a chiropractor because I deal with the nervous system. It's the very first thing that develops in this all of nature's wisdom with what's going on with this developing child. So, with that brain and spinal cord developing, off of that grows then the rest of the body. Here comes these vines. And these vines look like this in the plant kingdom as well. And on the end of these vines grow buds. And in the plant kingdom, we're coming up on spring, we're going to get buds as well on our trees, and our plants, and our flowers. And in our plant kingdom, those buds grow up to be fruits and flowers and leaves and things like that. In our human anatomy, they grow up to be things like tonsils and heart and lungs and small intestine and pancreas and liver. Everything in our body was a nerve first. The brain, the spinal cord. So then back to the healing thing, or the curing thing. No one cures you. So what if a person cuts their finger and they put a little neosporin on there and they put a Band-Aid and they get a shot of penicillin and a shot of tetanus? Are those the things that cure the body? Is that the stuff that cures the body? If that was true, couldn't we go to the butcher tomorrow and get a piece of steak and cut it and then put a Band-Aid on it and neosporin and give it a shot of penicillin and a shot of tetanus, and then does it heal? No, and you guys know that. You're thinking, Vince, that's silly. No, the steak doesn't heal. Why doesn't the steak heal if you do that? What's missing?
It's dead.
Life. Life.
Yeah.
Life. Life heals us. Life is what heals us. And so too fast, too often, do our standard Americans run to mask symptoms and never give life a chance to heal. But you have to have 100% expression of life for the body to heal. So, as this baby continues to grow, it doesn't take inside this mother's womb a pediatrician or a PhD or a scientist or an MD or an orthopedic or a chiropractor. It takes none of those people for this brilliant thing to develop. Nature's wisdom and all her glory is what makes this thing develop. In chiropractic, we call it innate intelligence. It's the intelligence, the universal intelligence, the innate intelligence that 280 days later, this developing embryo can develop as this beautiful baby. Dr. Ross had a baby girl here recently. That's a beautiful thing, Piper. And she was, how did, with all this wisdom when she was developing, the body knew how long to make the fingers, how long to make the arms. This perfect little thing is born at 6 pounds and 20 inches or whatever it ends up being. On the day she's born, does that wisdom that created this amazing body from egg and sperm into this amazing 6 pound, 20 inch baby, does the wisdom then stop? Isn't the wisdom, the God-given ability of the wisdom that created that body, isn't it still within that body? So isn't that the same wisdom that can still heal that body? So now does Piper need shots and pills and potions to stay well? Is that what makes her well? So what happens is, when we study health, and when 100% of the body is functioning 100% of the time, the body needs to be interference free. So as that baby develops, comes this 24 segments of bone, vertebral bones. And those 24 segments of bones are not solid rod of bone because we're designed to be movable. And so they are all movable. And so as we move through life, those bones can subluxate, move out of position, and then that causes interference or pressure on that nervous system. So, do you know that with the subluxation, the amount of pressure that it takes to create dysfunction within that nerve is 10 millimeters of mercury. I've also heard 9 grams from different studies. 10 millimeter of mercury to describe that pressure. If you touch your eyelid, if you close your eye and touch your eyelid where you can feel your eye with your touch, that's 10 millimeters of mercury. It's not very much. Or 9 grams is the weight of one piece of paper. So the weight of one piece of paper is enough to decrease the potential of that nerve by 25%. And so that disrupts the flow of energy through that body. And that creates sick or dis-ease. Dis-ease. Or malfunction. Malfunction within that body. So those 100 trillion cells have every mental impulse, electrical impulse coming from the brain down through the spinal cord that was the first organ developed. Guyton's Medical Physiology says the reason why the brain and the spinal cord is the first thing developed because it is the master controller of all functions, tissues, and cells to come. That's a medical physiology textbook. It says the brain and the spinal cord is the master controller of all cells, organs, tissues, and functions thereof of the body to come. So here's a picture of the nervous system and things that it reaches out to. So all those nerves, as they come down through the spine and the spinal cord and they branch off into this peripheral nervous system, they then go out and they split and they segment and they cover every bit and piece of your body. If you look at anatomical structure and picture of the vascular system or the blood system, it doesn't near cover and comprehend and cover as much as what the nervous system covers. The nervous system covers absolutely every piece of our body. How many cells in the body? There are 100 trillion cells in the human body. That's 1 with 14 zeros. So every day of our life, we have cells that are dying and cells that are being replaced. If you just, 100 trillion cells, if you just brush your hand, I'm brushing off 1 million cells. That's why we can go to Cancun and 2 weeks later we're losing our tan because those cells are dying and going away. Right now, you have heart cells that are dying, but don't worry, don't be scared because you have new heart cells that are developing right now from the lunch that you ate this morning and the breakfast you ate this morning is what's making those cells. So how important it is do you think of what you're eating for lunch and breakfast when you think about it like that? If that's the fuel and what's creating then the building blocks for these cells to die. We get a new heart every 90 days. Red blood cells every 120 days. Every one of them in your body, of the bajillions of them, die and they're replaced. Of the vital organs in our body, we get new ones every 4 to 6 months. Cells dying and cells being replaced with healthy cells. How do they get replaced with healthy cells? They have to have 100% brain-body connection. So what happens with medicine is that they are trying to treat the sick cells. I don't care about sick cells. I just want the healthy, because sick cells are going to die just like the healthy cells die. They all die. I just want the sick cells to die, and then I want the body to have 100% brain-body connection, so then the healthy cells are replaced where those sick cells are. The bone cells, we get new bone cells every 8 months. They say that you get a whole brand new body every 7 years. Because it all starts to rebuild. Every 7 years. And so, when we, again back to medicine, when we look at how they're operating, it's this. Diagnosis. Notice this diagnosis. There we go. Because we have symptoms, I'll call them also effects. Because we have malfunction or dis-ease, because we have interference, because we have